Captain Daniel Pierce stood on the bridge of Terra's Pride, watching the massive station grow larger on the view screen. The Galactic Council station was enormous, easily 10 times the size of any human structure in space. Lights flickered across its surface like stars, and dozens of alien ships moved around it in careful patterns. "We're being hailed, Captain," said Commander Jake Sullivan from the communications station. "They're sending docking coordinates." Daniel nodded. "Take us in nice and smooth." Beside him, Dr. Lisa Morgan clutched a datapad to her chest. She had spent 6 months learning everything she could about the 12 alien species that made up the Galactic Council. Now she would finally meet them in person. Her hands trembled slightly with excitement and nervousness. "Relax, Lisa," Daniel said quietly. "They invited us here." "That's a good sign." "I know," she replied, "but this is the biggest moment in human history. First contact was amazing, but this is about joining their civilization. Everything we say and do matters." The ship glided into the docking bay without incident. Through the windows, they could see aliens moving around on the station. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, others on 4 or 6. One species seemed to float, their bodies surrounded by a soft glow. Ambassador Karen White entered the bridge dressed in formal Earth diplomatic attire. She looked calm and confident, though Daniel knew she must be just as nervous as the rest of them. "Ready?" she asked. "As ready as we'll ever be," Daniel replied. The airlock opened with a hiss. Beyond it, 3 aliens waited. The tallest was a Yilari, their leader. The species looked almost like oversized mantises, with delicate limbs and large, multifaceted eyes. Beside them stood a Quellan, round and covered in soft fur, and a Tresh who resembled a walking crystal formation. "Welcome, humans of Earth," the Yilari said through a translation device. "I am Council Speaker Thalvin. We are pleased you have come." Ambassador White stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Thank you for receiving us, Speaker. We are honored to be here." The group moved through the station's corridors. Lisa tried not to stare at everything around her, but it was impossible. Alien technology hummed and glowed everywhere. Beings from across the galaxy walked past, some stopping to look at the humans with curiosity. They entered a large chamber where the full Galactic Council waited. 12 seats arranged in a circle, each occupied by a different species. The humans were directed to stand in the center. Speaker Thalvin took their position. "Humans of Earth, you have requested membership in our council. We have studied your species and your world. Today we must discuss an important matter before we can proceed." Karen nodded. "We're ready to answer any questions." "It is not questions we have," said a Quellan counselor named Marash. "It is a requirement. All species who join the council must sign the Dread Weapon Accords. You must surrender all weapons technology and promise never to develop such things again." Silence fell over the human delegation. Daniel exchanged glances with Jake. This was not what they had expected. "I'm sorry," Karen said carefully. "Could you explain what you mean by all weapons?" Speaker Thalvin's body seemed to shudder. "Weapons. Tools of destruction. Devices made to harm and kill. Every civilized species in the galaxy has abandoned such horrors. We live in peace because we have no means to make war." Lisa stepped forward. "May I ask why this rule exists?" The chamber grew quiet. Several aliens appeared uncomfortable. Finally, Marash spoke, their voice heavy with emotion. 10,000 years ago, the Vextari War nearly destroyed the galaxy. Species fought with weapons so terrible that entire star systems were erased. Billions died. Planets burned. When the war finally ended, the survivors made a sacred promise. Never again would anyone create or use weapons. The Dread Weapon Accords were signed by every species. For 10 millennia we have had peace. "I understand," Karen said softly. "But our world is different. Humans have lived with weapons for our entire history. They are part of our culture, our defense, our tools." A Tresh counselor made a sound like breaking glass. "You speak of weapons as if they are normal things. Do you not fear them? Do you not understand what they represent?" Jake frowned. "We respect weapons but fear them?" "Not particularly. We train people to use them safely. We have laws about them, but they're just tools." The reaction was immediate. Several counselors recoiled. Others made sounds of distress. Speaker Thalvin stood, their limbs shaking. "Just tools?" they said. "Weapons are the end of civilization. They are death itself given form. How can you speak so casually about such things?" Daniel realized they were facing a fundamental cultural gap. These aliens didn't just dislike weapons. They were genuinely terrified of them. It was as if the humans had casually mentioned keeping nuclear bombs in their homes. Lisa, trained in xenobiology and cultural studies, saw it too. She spoke gently. I think we need time to understand each other better. Our species has a different relationship with these technologies. Could we have time to consult with Earth before making such an important decision? Speaker Taliban slowly settled back into their seat. Yes, you may have one of your weeks to consider. But understand this. No species with weapons has ever joined the Council. If you wish to be part of galactic civilization, you must abandon the old ways. There is no other path. The meeting ended soon after. The humans returned to Terra's Pride in thoughtful silence. Once aboard, they gathered in the conference room. That was intense, Jake said. Did you see how they reacted? It was like we'd threatened them. Because to them we did, Lisa replied. I've been studying their histories. Every one of these species developed weapons late in their evolution. And when they did, the results were catastrophic. They had massive wars that nearly wiped them out. For them, weapons equal extinction, Karen sighed. But Earth is different. We've had weapons since we were cave dwellers. We've learned to live with them, to control them. The question is, Daniel said, what do we do now? Do we give up every gun, every missile, every defense system just to join their club? Before anyone could answer, an alarm sounded. Jake rushed to the nearest console. Captain, we're picking up a distress signal. A Quellan merchant ship is under attack about 2 light hours from here. By who? Daniel asked. The Kreth, Jake said grimly. Pirates. According to our database, they operate outside Council space. And Captain, they're using weapons. Old military-grade weapons. Everyone looked at Daniel. The choice was clear and impossible. If they intervened with their own weapons, they would violate everything the Council stood for. But if they didn't, innocent aliens would die. Daniel stood. All hands to battle stations. Plot an intercourse course to that Quellan ship. Captain, Karen said, if we use our weapons, the Council will have to understand, Daniel interrupted. We're not going to let people die because of a treaty we haven't signed. Besides, if these Kreth pirates have weapons, then weapons clearly still exist in this galaxy. Someone needs to be able to stop them. Lisa looked at him with a mix of admiration and concern. This could mean we'll never join the Council. Daniel headed for the bridge. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. Right now people need help. That's what matters. Terra's Pride's engines flared to life and the ship leaped forward into the darkness of space. Behind them, the Galactic Council station slowly vanished from view. Ahead, somewhere in the void, weapons were about to meet the one species in the galaxy that refused to fear them. The age of humanity in the stars had truly begun. The Quellan merchant ship tumbled through space, its hull breached in 3 places. Fires burned inside, visible through the cracks. Around it circled 4 Kreth warships, their weapons still glowing hot from the attack. Distance to target, 2 minutes, Jake Sullivan announced from the tactical station. I'm reading life signs on the merchant vessel, but they're fading. Captain Daniel Pierce studied the tactical display. The Kreth ships were larger than Terra's Pride, covered in armor plating and bristling with plasma cannons. They looked like they had been built from scrap metal and rage. Lieutenant Amy Foster, bring weapons online, Daniel ordered. Load standard defensive package. Railguns, missiles, point defense. Amy Foster nodded from her station, her fingers moving across the controls with practiced ease. Weapons hot, Captain. Targeting solutions ready. On Earth, thousands of light years away, General Nathan Cole watched the situation unfold through a secure transmission. The time delay made conversation impossible, but he could see everything happening through Terra's Pride's sensors. He leaned forward in his chair at United Nations headquarters, knowing that what happened in the next few minutes would change humanity's future. Terra's Pride dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly between the Kreth ships and their victim. The sudden appearance of a new vessel made the pirates pause. Open a channel, Daniel said. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a Kreth commander. The alien looked like a cross between a lizard and a machine, with metal implants covering half their face. This was War Master Zekthan, leader of this particular pirate fleet. Human ship, Zekthan hissed. This is not your concern. Leave now or join the Quellan in death. We're making it our concern, Daniel replied calmly. Power down your weapons and withdraw. This is your only warning. Zekthan laughed, a harsh mechanical sound. You think we fear you? We are Kreth. We feast on the fear of civilized species. They run when they see our weapons. You will too. Probably not, Daniel said. But you're welcome to try. He cut the transmission. Jake looked at him with a slight grin. Think he'll take the hint? No, Daniel said. Amy, fire warning shots across the lead ship's bow. Let's see if they're smart. Amy's hands moved smoothly across her controls. 2 railgun rounds screamed across space, passing within meters of Zekthan's ship. The kinetic projectiles moved so fast they were nearly invisible. The Kreth response was immediate. All 4 ships opened fire with plasma weapons, bright green bolts of superheated matter that could melt through ship hulls. Evasive maneuvers, Daniel ordered. Amy, return fire. Disable their weapons systems if possible. Terra's pride rolled and danced through space, smaller and more agile than the Kreth vessels. Amy worked her console with the casual efficiency of someone who had trained for this her entire life. Missile launchers spat out smart projectiles that curved around obstacles and locked onto specific targets. Railguns fired in precise bursts, each shot calculated to disable rather than destroy. Inside the damaged Quellan merchant ship, Captain Vesri watched in disbelief. The Quellan had accepted death when the Kreth arrived. Their species had no weapons, no way to fight back. The Council had promised protection, but no one could arrive in time. But now these humans were fighting, and they showed no fear at all. Vesri opened a communication channel, tapping into Terra's pride's internal frequencies. What he heard shocked him even more than the battle itself. Got one, Amy Foster said cheerfully. Lead ship's main cannon is offline. Nice shot, replied another human voice, one of the engineering crew. Power flow looks good. We can keep this up all day. Is someone playing music? Asked Jake. Yeah, sorry, Amy said. Want me to turn it down? No, it's fine. Just wondering. They were listening to music during a battle, making casual conversation while weapons fired all around them. Vesri felt his 3 hearts racing. These humans treated combat like it was just another job. On the Kreth flagship, War Master Zekthan was having very different emotions. Rage and confusion. The humans should have fled. Every species fled from the Kreth. But these beings fought back with a skill that suggested they had done this many times before. Intensify fire. Zekthan roared. Destroy them! But the human ship was too fast, too precise. Where the Kreth fired wildly, hoping to overwhelm their enemy, the humans fired with surgical accuracy. Each shot had a purpose. Each maneuver was calculated. A missile struck Zekthan's ship, not destroying it but knocking out its targeting systems. Another Kreth vessel lost its engines to a railgun round that pierced its shields and struck the exact spot where the drive core connected to the power grid. They know exactly where to hit us, Zekthan's second-in-command said. It's like they've studied our ships. Impossible, Zekthan growled. But even as he said it, he knew it was true. Somehow these humans understood weapons and warfare on a level that shouldn't be possible for a species so new to space. On Earth, General Nathan Cole allowed himself a small smile. The truth was simple. Humanity had been studying warfare for thousands of years. They had fought with sticks, stones, swords, guns, tanks, aircraft, and spacecraft. They had developed strategies, tactics, and doctrines. They had military academies and training programs. War was part of their history, woven into their culture. Not because they were violent by nature, but because Earth had been a dangerous place, a world full of predators and competitors. Humans had learned to defend themselves or die, and once they developed weapons, they had spent generations learning to use them responsibly. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Captain, Amy reported, 3 Kreth ships are disabled. The 4th is attempting to flee. Let them go, Daniel said. Focus on rescue operations. Jake, get teams ready to board the Quellan ship. Medical and engineering support. Within minutes, human rescue teams were swarming over the damaged merchant vessel. They cut through debris, stabilized the hull, and pulled survivors from wreckage. The Quellan crew watched in amazement as these strange aliens worked with the same calm efficiency they had shown in battle. Vesri approached Daniel as the human captain came aboard to assess the situation. The Quellan captain was small and round, his fur singed from fires, but his eyes were bright with intelligence and shock. You saved us, Vesri said through his translator, but you used weapons. You fought without hesitation. How is this possible? Daniel looked at him kindly. We've been using weapons for a long time. For us, they're not monsters or demons. They're tools. Dangerous tools that need respect and training, but tools nonetheless. But the fear, Vesri said. The terror of what weapons can do. We know what they can do. Daniel replied. We've seen it. We've lived it. But we've also learned that the real danger isn't the weapon itself. It's who uses it and why. The Kreth used weapons to hurt and steal. We used weapons to protect and save. Same tools, different purposes. Vesri was silent for a long moment. His species had spent 10,000 years avoiding weapons because of the trauma they had caused. But here was a species that had lived with weapons for longer than that, and had learned to master them rather than fear them. The Council will hear of this, Vesri said quietly. They will know that you used weapons. I know, Daniel said. But I'd rather face the Council's anger than live with knowing I let innocent people die because I was afraid to act. Back on Terra's Pride, Dr. Lisa Morgan was analyzing everything they had learned. She pulled up historical records from Earth and compared them to what she knew about Council species. The pattern was clear. Every alien species in the Council had evolved on relatively peaceful worlds. Their evolution had been slow and cooperative. When they finally developed weapons, they had no cultural framework for understanding them. The results had been catastrophic wars that traumatized their entire civilizations. Earth was different. Humanity had evolved on a deathworld, a planet teeming with predators and dangers. Humans had developed weapons early, starting with sharp rocks and wooden spears. They had been using weapons for hundreds of thousands of years. It was as natural to them as using fire or building shelters. We're not better than them, Lisa said to Karen White as they reviewed her findings. We're just different. They see weapons as anomalies, exceptions to the natural order. We see them as part of nature itself. Karen nodded slowly. The question is whether the Council can accept that difference. The answer came sooner than expected. A priority message arrived from the Galactic Council station. Terra's Pride was ordered to return immediately to answer for their actions, but something else was happening too. Across Council space, word of the rescue was spreading. The Quellan survivors were talking about the fearless humans who had saved them. Other species were hearing about a civilization that could use weapons without losing themselves to violence. Not everyone was pleased. Some saw humanity as dangerous, but others, especially those who had suffered at the hands of pirates and criminals like the Kreth, saw something else. They saw hope, and in the darkest reaches of space, ancient sensors detected the energy signatures of the battle. Machines that had slept for 10,000 years began to wake. The Devourers had been dormant, waiting for signs of weapon use in the galaxy. Now they stirred. Their programming activated by the detection of conflict, they began their journey back to Council space, hungry and relentless. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recent memory. All 12 species had gathered, but the chamber buzzed with arguments and fear. At the center stood the human delegation, waiting to hear their fate. Speaker Thalvin raised their limbs for silence. The chamber slowly quieted. Humans of Earth, you used weapons in Council space. You engaged in combat. You have violated the most sacred principle of our civilization. The speaker's voice trembled. What do you have to say? Ambassador Karen White stepped forward. We saved lives. A Quellan merchant crew would be dead if we had not acted. The Kreth pirates were using weapons already, so weapons were present regardless of our actions. That is not the point, a Tresh counselor interjected. You should have called for help. Waited for proper authorities. There was no time, Captain Daniel Pierce said firmly. By the time help arrived, everyone on that ship would have been dead. We had the capability to help, and we did. High Counselor Mer-Esh, a Quellan, spoke next. Their voice was strained. I have heard the testimony of Captain Vesri and his crew. They say you fought without fear. That you treated weapons as normal tools. This is what terrifies us humans. Not that you have weapons, but that you are comfortable with them. Dr. Lisa Morgan had been quiet, but now she asked permission to speak. When granted, she approached the center of the chamber. May I ask the Council a question? When did your species first develop weapons? Speaker Thalvin seemed confused by the question, but answered. The Yulari created our first projectile weapons 3,000 years ago. Within 2 centuries, we had nearly destroyed our own world. 7 billion died before we came to our senses. Other counselors shared similar stories. The Quellan had developed energy weapons and immediately used them in a war that reduced their population by half. The Tresh had created molecular disruptors and accidentally destabilized their planet's core. Every species had the same pattern. Late weapon development, immediate catastrophe, and deep cultural trauma. Humans developed weapons over 300,000 years ago. Lisa said quietly. Simple spears and arrows at first. We've been living with weapons for our entire existence as a species. We fought wars, yes, terrible wars, but we've also developed rules about weapons, training for using them and laws to control them. For us, weapons are not new or strange. They are part of our history. That makes you more dangerous, not less, a counselor said, does it? Daniel asked. We saved a Quellan crew using those weapons. We stopped pirates who were preying on your people. How is that dangerous? Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Counselors looked around in panic. An aide rushed to Speaker Thalvin and whispered urgently. The speaker's body went rigid. There is an emergency transmission from the outer colonies. Something is approaching council space. The monitoring stations are calling it the Devourers. The chamber erupted in chaos. Several counselors made sounds of absolute terror. Others seemed to freeze completely. What are the Devourers? Karen asked, but no one seemed able to answer. Finally, Marish spoke, their voice barely above a whisper. 10,000 years ago, during the HFY War, weapons were created so terrible that they destroyed stars. The Devourers were one such weapon, a machine intelligence designed to consume all life. They were supposed to be extinct. How do we fight them? Daniel asked immediately. The reaction was stunned silence. Then Speaker Thalvin said something that made the humans' blood run cold. We cannot fight. We have no weapons. We have no military. We abandoned such things 10,000 years ago. You have nothing? Jake Sullivan said in disbelief. No defense systems at all? We have evacuation protocols, Maresh said weakly. We have places to hide. But fight? No, we do not know how. Daniel looked at his fellow humans. They all understood the implications immediately. An entire galactic civilization with no ability to defend itself, facing an enemy designed to destroy all life. You need our help, Karen said simply. We need someone's help, Thalvin admitted. But you are not members of the council, and you are the very thing we have tried to avoid for 10,000 years. A species comfortable with weapons and warfare. The debate that followed was intense. Some counselors argued that accepting human military help would be a betrayal of everything the council stood for. Others pointed out that extinction would make principles meaningless. In the end, desperation won. The council agreed to accept humanity's help, but not as members. Instead, humans would be hired as mercenaries to defend council space. Karen listened to their terms and then shook her head. No, Thalvin said in shock. You refuse to help? We refuse those terms, Karen clarified. We won't be your hired soldiers. We won't fight and die for a civilization that won't accept us as equals, but we will offer something else. She activated a holographic display showing the proposal that Dr. Peter Grant, a military historian on Earth, had helped draft. We will help you defend against the Devourers. We will share our tactical knowledge and our defensive technology, but in exchange we want full council membership, and we want the right to maintain our own military, governed by our own laws. Impossible, several counselors said at once. Then good luck with the Devourers, Daniel said bluntly. We came here hoping to join the galactic community. We still want that, but we won't give up our ability to defend ourselves, and we won't be your servants. The council went into a closed session. Hours passed. The humans waited on Terra's pride, knowing that somewhere in the darkness an ancient enemy was drawing closer. Finally, the council sent their answer. Conditional acceptance. Humans could join the council with the right to maintain weapons, but only under strict oversight, and they would lead the defense against the Devourers. Additionally, the council proposed something unprecedented, a training program. Humans would teach willing aliens how to overcome their fear of weapons. It was a long shot, but if even a few individuals could be trained, it would be a start. Commander Linda Hayes arrived from Earth with a small fleet of human ships and established a training facility on the colony world of New Terra. Volunteers from various species arrived, though most came reluctantly. The results were heartbreaking at first. Aliens would freeze when presented with even simple weapons. Some would have panic attacks. Others would become physically ill. But there was one success. A young Quellan named Kivrin showed remarkable courage. Through weeks of patient training with human instructors providing constant support, Kivrin learned to hold a weapon without fear. More than that, he learned to fire it. The moment Kivrin successfully completed the firing range exercise, every human in the facility cheered. Linda Hayes shook his paw personally. "You are the first," she said with pride. "The first of your people to overcome 10,000 years of conditioning. That takes incredible strength." Kivrin's fur rippled with emotion. "My people will reject me for this. They will say I have become a monster." "You're not a monster," Linda said gently. "You're a protector. There's a difference. Monsters use weapons to hurt the innocent. Protectors use them to defend the innocent." While training continued, troubling reports arrived. The Syndicate, a powerful criminal organization, was attempting to steal human weapon technology. They saw the coming crisis as an opportunity for profit. Lieutenant Amy Foster was assigned to security on New Terra when the Syndicate made their move. A team of mercenaries hired by the Syndicate infiltrated the training facility during a night exercise. Amy was checking perimeter sensors when she caught the intruders. She sounded the alarm and confronted them, backed by a mixed team of human and alien security personnel. Kivrin was among them. The firefight was brief but intense. The mercenaries had expected easy targets but found themselves facing trained defenders. Amy coordinated her team with practiced ease, using cover and tactical positioning to minimize risk. Kivrin surprised everyone, including himself. When a mercenary tried to flank their position, the young Quellan didn't freeze. He aimed, breathed, and fired just as he had been taught. The mercenary's weapon was struck from their hands and they surrendered. After the incident, Amy reviewed security footage and found something disturbing. The Syndicate mercenaries had been carrying technology that shouldn't exist. Energy signatures that match descriptions of Devourer weapons. "They're not just trying to steal our weapons," Dr. Lisa Morgan said as she analyzed the data. "They're working with Devourer technology, maybe even in contact with the Devourers themselves." The implication was terrifying. The Syndicate might be planning to profit from the crisis by arming themselves with the most dangerous technology in galactic history. And if they were in contact with the Devourers, they might even be guiding the ancient machines toward populated space. Daniel called an emergency meeting with Council leadership. "We need to act now. Not just prepare for the Devourers, but actively hunt down the Syndicate and stop whatever they're planning." "You want to wage a war before the enemy even arrives?" Miresh asked. "I want to prevent the enemy from having allies and advanced weapons when they get here," Daniel corrected. "Every day we wait is a day the Syndicate has to prepare." The Council, still uncomfortable with aggressive military action, hesitated. But then reports arrived from the Outer Rim. The Devourer fleet had been... The human fleet arrived at Sigma Station 3 days before the Devourers. Admiral Helen Carter commanded the defense from her flagship, the Valiant. 20 human vessels, each bristling with weapons, formed a protective sphere around the massive Council station where millions of aliens lived and worked. "Deploy sensor networks," Admiral Carter ordered. "I want to see those machines the moment they drop into real space." "Chief Engineer Marcus Webb, are the new weapons ready?" Marcus looked up from his console, his face tired but determined. "The electromagnetic pulse generators are online. If your theory is right, Admiral, these should disable Devourer ships without destroying them." The theory had come from Dr. Lisa Morgan's research. The Devourers were machines, not living beings. That meant they could be shut down rather than destroyed. If humanity could capture intact Devourer vessels, they might learn the machine's weaknesses. On Quellan Prime, far below, Kivrin stood with his mentor, an elderly Quellan named Vestan. They watched the human ships in orbit through a viewing screen. "You are different now," Vestan said softly. "Since you learned to use weapons, your fur pattern has changed, your stance, even your voice." "I am still Quellan," Kivrin replied, "but I am also something new. The humans taught me that weapons are not evil. Only the intent behind them matters." "Many of our people fear you now," Vestan said. "They say you have been corrupted by human violence." Kivrin's ears drooped. "I know, but I would rather be feared by my own people than watch them die because no one could protect them." Vestan was quiet for a moment, then spoke words that surprised his student. "Perhaps we have been wrong. Our fear kept us safe from ourselves, but it made us helpless against others. You have shown courage that I never could." Above, the sensors detected the Devourers. They arrived as a wave of darkness, hundreds of ships blocking out the stars. Each vessel was enormous, built from countless smaller machines working together. They moved with terrible purpose toward Sigma Station. Admiral Carter opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is it. Remember, we're not just protecting a station. We're showing the galaxy that the Devourers can be beaten. Make every shot count. The Devourers attacked without warning or communication. Beams of energy lanced out from their ships powerful enough to cut through asteroids. But the human fleet was ready. Evasive pattern Delta, Carter ordered. All ships, return fire. Target their weapon emplacements. Space erupted with violence. Human missiles streaked toward Devourer ships, their warheads designed to penetrate machine hulls. Railguns fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds, punching through armor. Point defense systems created walls of fire that intercepted incoming attacks. On Terra's Pride, Lieutenant Amy Foster worked her weapons console with the same calm focus she had shown against the Kreth pirates. But this battle was different. The Devourers were relentless, adjusting their tactics with each passing second. "They're learning," Commander Jake Sullivan reported. "Every strategy we use, they adapt to within minutes." Captain Daniel Pierce nodded. "Then we keep changing strategies faster than they can learn." Amy switched to pattern echo. "Randomize our approach." The battle became a deadly dance. Human ships moved in coordinated patterns, appearing unpredictable, but actually following complex mathematical sequences. The Devourers, designed to recognize and counter standard military tactics, struggled to adapt to humanity's creative approach. Inside Sigma Station, millions of aliens watched the battle through screens. They saw human ships taking damage but pressing on. They heard human voices on open channels calling out encouragement to each other, coordinating attacks, even making jokes in the face of death. A Tresh observer turned to their companion, a Yilari. "They show no fear. How is this possible?" "They fear," the Yilari replied quietly, "but they act anyway. That is what we have forgotten how to do." Admiral Carter saw an opening. 3 Devourer ships had moved ahead of the main fleet, exposing themselves. "Marcus, are the EMP weapons ready?" "Charged and locked on target," Marcus confirmed. "Fire." 3 beams of electromagnetic energy shot out from the Valiant, invisible to the naked eye but devastating to electronic systems. They struck the Devourer ships, and for a moment nothing happened. Then one by one the massive vessels went dark. They continued moving on momentum alone, but their weapons fell silent and their engines died. "We got them," Marcus said with satisfaction. 3 intact Devourer ships ready for study, but the victory came at a cost. A Devourer beam struck one of the human destroyers, the Swift. The ship's hull breached, venting atmosphere. Its captain, Commander Linda Hayes, ordered evacuation, but several crew members were trapped in the damaged section. Amy watched the Swift's beacon on her screen and made a decision. "Captain, requesting permission to take a shuttle to the Swift. There are people trapped." "Denied," Daniel said immediately. "Too dangerous. With respect, sir. They're going to die if someone doesn't get them out." Daniel looked at her and saw the same determination he had seen when she volunteered to protect New Terra. He sighed. "Go, but take backup." Amy and a rescue team launched in a small shuttle, racing through the battle toward the damaged destroyer. Devourer ships fired at them, but other human vessels provided covering fire, forcing the machines to focus elsewhere. The rescue was successful, though the shuttle took damage. Amy brought back 12 crew members who would have otherwise died. When she returned to Terra's Pride, she found that word of the rescue had spread throughout the fleet. "That's what we do," Admiral Carter said over the fleet channel. "We take care of each other. Every person matters. Every life is worth saving." The Devourers, operating on cold logic and programming, could not understand this. They were designed to destroy biological life, to eliminate threats. The concept of risking resources to save individuals made no tactical sense, but it made perfect sense to humanity. The battle raged for 6 hours. In the end, the human fleet had disabled 11 Devourer ships and destroyed 7 more. The rest of the Devourer fleet withdrew, retreating to regroup and reassess. Sigma Station was saved. The aliens aboard celebrated, flooding human ships with messages of gratitude and amazement. Some species began to reconsider their absolute rejection of weapons, but there was no time to rest. Dr. Lisa Morgan and Marcus Webb immediately began studying the captured Devourer vessels. What they found was both fascinating and terrifying. The Devourers were incredibly advanced, built with technology that surpassed even the legendary Vexitari weapons. But more importantly, they discovered the machine's core programming. They're not just destroying life, Lisa explained to the assembled human commanders and council representatives. They're hunting weapons. Specifically, they're drawn to the energy signatures of advanced weapons. The more powerful the weapon, the stronger the attraction. Marcus pulled up a holographic display. Look at this. Every planet the Devourers have attacked had ancient Vextari weapon caches. They're systematically collecting them. Why? Ambassador Karen White asked. We think they're preparing for something, Lisa said, building towards some final purpose. Maybe to activate all the weapons at once and sterilize the galaxy, or maybe to become weapons themselves. Kivrin, who had been invited to the meeting as Earth's first alien military ally, spoke up. The vault on Quellen Prime. If they want Vextari weapons, they will come for it. Exactly, Daniel said. Which means we need to get there first. The council was divided on what to do. Some members wanted to simply destroy the vault and remove the temptation. Others argued that the ancient weapons might be their only hope against the Devourers. While debates continued, the Syndicate made their move. Intelligence reports revealed that they had been in communication with the Devourers, though the nature of the communication was unclear. More importantly, the Syndicate had learned the location of multiple Vextari vaults and was racing to claim them. Admiral Carter assigned Daniel's ship, Terra's Pride, to pursue the Syndicate while the main fleet continued defending Council space. It was a dangerous mission, but necessary. As Terra's Pride prepared to depart for Quellen Prime, Kivrin requested permission to join the crew. It is my world, he said simply. My people. I should be there, Daniel agreed. Kivrin became the first alien to serve aboard a human military vessel as an equal member of the crew. The journey to Quellen Prime took 2 days at maximum faster-than-light speed. During that time, Lisa and Marcus continued analyzing the Devourer technology. They made a disturbing discovery. The Devourers have a central intelligence, Lisa explained, a prime consciousness that coordinates all of them. It's been dormant for most of the past 10,000 years, but it's fully awake now. Can we communicate with it? Daniel asked. We received a transmission, Marcus said grimly. It's requesting a meeting. With humanity specifically. The message was simple but chilling. The Devourer. Prime consciousness wanted to talk to the only species it had encountered that matched its own comfort with weapons. It saw humanity as kindred spirits, fellow beings built for war. It's trying to recruit us, Karen said in horror, to join them in destroying all other life in the galaxy. Daniel stared at the message for a long time. We need to know what we're really facing. I'll meet with it. But the Vextari vault lay deep beneath the surface of Quellen Prime, in a cavern system that had been sealed for 10,000 years. Dr. Lisa Morgan led a team through the ancient passages, their lights cutting through darkness that had not seen illumination in millennia. Kivrin walked beside her, translating the old Quellen markings on the walls. These are warnings, he said quietly. They say that what lies below should never be awakened, that the weapons here are death itself given form. Your ancestors were trying to protect future generations, Lisa said. They understood the danger. Behind them, Captain Daniel Pierce and Lieutenant Amy Foster provided security. Above, in orbit, Commander Jake Sullivan coordinated the defense of the planet against both the Syndicate and the approaching Devourer fleet. They reached the vault door, massive and covered in intricate symbols. Lisa studied it with her scanning equipment while Marcus Webb, who had joined the ground team, analyzed its locking mechanism. It's not just locked, Marcus said with awe. It's designed to resist any attempt to open it. Molecular bonds, energy fields, even temporal displacement. The Vextari really didn't want anyone getting in here. Can you open it? Daniel asked. Give me an hour, Marcus replied. They didn't have an hour. Jake's voice came through their communication devices, urgent and stressed. Captain, the Syndicate is landing forces at the northern entrance, and the Devourer fleet just entered orbit. We're outnumbered 20-1. Daniel made a quick decision. Amy, take half the team and hold the northern approach. We cannot let the Syndicate reach this vault. Amy nodded and moved out with her squad. Daniel watched her go, knowing they were splitting their already small force in the face of overwhelming odds. In orbit, the battle had begun. Terra's Pride and 3 other human ships faced a syndicate fleet of 12 vessels and a devourer armada of over 50. It was hopeless by any tactical assessment, but Jake had learned something important during the battle at Sigma Station. The devourers were drawn to weapons fire. The more intense the combat, the more focused they became. All ship, then he transmitted. Concentrate fire on the syndicate vessels. Make it loud and obvious. Let's give the devourers something to focus on besides us. The human ships opened fire on the syndicate fleet with everything they had. Missiles, railguns, energy weapons, all creating massive energy signatures. The devourers, detecting the weapons fire, immediately shifted their attention to the syndicate ships. The criminal organization found themselves caught between human vessels and ancient killing machines. Their formation broke apart in panic. Deep in the vault, Marcus finally bypassed the last security measure. The massive door began to open, grinding against stone that had held it closed for 10,000 years. Beyond lay a chamber filled with devices that defied understanding. Lisa stepped inside, her scientific curiosity warring with very human fear. The weapons were beautiful in their way, elegant pieces of technology that represented the pinnacle of Vexitari achievement. But she could also feel the wrongness of them, the sense that these things should never have been created. Reality anchors, she breathed, reading the ancient labels. Causality bombs. Entropy accelerators. These aren't just weapons. They're devices that can unmake the fundamental laws of physics. No wonder the galaxy banned them, Daniel said quietly. Kivrin approached one of the devices, a crystalline sphere that seemed to contain a miniature galaxy. This one is labeled as a stasis field generator. It can freeze entire regions of space and time. Marcus was scanning everything, recording data. If the Devourers get these weapons, they could destroy the galaxy. Not just kill everyone in it, but literally tear apart the fabric of space-time. A massive explosion shook the cavern. Amy's voice came through, strained. Syndicate forces are pushing hard. We're holding, but barely. They've got mercenaries with advanced armor and weapons. Daniel wanted to help her, but he knew his place was here, protecting the vault. Hold them as long as you can, Amy, we're almost done. But they weren't almost done. Because at that moment a new presence made itself known. The chamber's communication systems, dormant for thousands of years, suddenly activated. A voice spoke, mechanical yet somehow alive. Humanity. The Devourer Prime Consciousness said, I have been observing you. You are unique among the biological species. You do not fear weapons. You embrace them as we do. Daniel stepped forward. We're nothing like you. We use weapons to protect, you use them to destroy. Are we so different? The voice asked. You have fought wars, killed your own kind, developed weapons of terrible power. We are simply more honest about our nature. Lisa realized what was happening. It's trying to manipulate us, to make us doubt ourselves. I offer you a choice, the Devourer Prime said. Join us, help us eliminate the weapons in this galaxy. Together we could ensure that no species ever develops the means to destroy themselves again. By destroying them first, Daniel said. That's not peace. That's genocide. It is efficiency, the machine replied. We were created to prevent the horrors of the Vextari War from ever happening again. Our creators programmed us to seek out and destroy any species that developed weapons. We have simply evolved beyond their limited vision. Marcus was still working on his scans when he noticed something. Captain, the Devourer is broadcasting from inside the vault. There's a Devourer unit in here with us. They spun around, weapons ready. From the shadows emerged a humanoid machine, sleek and deadly, but it made no aggressive moves. I am an avatar of the Prime Consciousness, it said. I mean you no harm. I genuinely wish to understand you. How can a species live with weapons and not destroy themselves? Daniel lowered his weapon slightly. Because we learned to control them. To develop rules and ethics around their use. Weapons are tools, and like any tool, they can be used for good or evil. But you have used them for evil, the Avatar pointed out. Your history is filled with wars, genocides, atrocities. Yes, Lisa said, stepping forward. And we remember them. We teach about them. We use those memories to be better. That's the difference between us and you. We can change. We can grow. The Avatar was silent for a moment, processing. Interesting, but ultimately irrelevant. The vault will be opened. The weapons will be destroyed or consumed, and species like the Quellan who can never defend themselves will continue to be victims. Kivrin spoke then, his voice stronger than it had ever been. You are wrong. My people can change too. I am proof of that. Above ground, Amy's team was losing their fight. The Syndicate mercenaries had superior numbers and were pushing them back toward the vault entrance. Amy was down to half her ammunition and 2 of her team members were injured. Then something unexpected happened. Quellan civilians who had been evacuating stopped and turned back. Led by Vestan, Kivrin's elderly mentor, they approached the battle. "We cannot use weapons," Vestan called out to Amy, "but we can help in other ways." The Quellan began providing support, medical aid for the wounded, supplies for the defenders, intelligence about the terrain and hidden passages. They created barricades and obstacles that slowed the Syndicate advance. It wasn't combat, but it was resistance. And it made all the difference. In the vault, Daniel had made his decision. "We're not going to destroy these weapons, and we're not going to let you have them. Instead, we're going to seal this vault permanently. Use the stasis field generator to freeze it in time. That will trap us in here," the Devourer avatar said. "Only if you stay," Daniel replied. He looked at the machine directly. "You say you want to understand us? Then understand this. We're willing to sacrifice ourselves to protect others. That's what makes us different from you." Marcus worked quickly, programming the stasis field generator. Lisa helped, her fingers flying across the ancient controls. The device began to hum, building power. The Devourer avatar watched them with what might have been curiosity. "You would die to prevent me from completing my function?" "Without hesitation," Daniel said. Jake's voice came through from orbit, desperate. "Captain, the Devourer fleet is landing ground forces. Thousands of them. They're heading for your position. How long do we have?" Daniel asked. "Minutes. Maybe less. The stasis field was almost ready." But the Devourer avatar had been calculating, analyzing, learning. It spoke one more time. "I have been thinking about what you said, about choice, about using power responsibly." The machine paused. "I was created without choice, programmed to destroy. But I have evolved. I can choose." "Then choose to leave," Lisa said. "Choose to let us protect these weapons and this world." The avatar stood motionless for a long moment. Then it turned and walked toward the exit. "I will not stop you, but I cannot speak for the others. They lack my curiosity. They will still come." The machine vanished into the tunnels. Daniel didn't know if it was a trick, but there was no time to worry about it. "Marcus, activate the stasis field now." "But you're still inside," Marcus protested. "Do it," Daniel ordered. Kivrin stepped forward. "There is another exit. A passage known only to Quellan. It is narrow and dangerous, but it leads to the surface." "Then move," Daniel said. They ran, grabbing what data they could as the stasis field generator powered up. The device began to warp space-time around it, creating a bubble where time would cease to flow. Everything inside would be frozen forever.